In this chapter, we'll look at managing files on the command line interface. Throughout this chapter, we'll learn how to copy, move, and understand the appropriate places for the different types of files that comprise our operating system. This will enable you to fully manage your environment, as Linux is just a complex organization of files to create an entire operating system environment. By the end of this chapter, you should feel comfortable copying, moving, creating, deleting, editing, and organizing the files, utilizing the bash shell from a terminal within our Linux operating system. You'll learn how to organize the files in Linux for their particular purposes and functions, as well as the many directories that are vital to understand their purpose throughout the hierarchy of files. In this section, we'll look at the Linux file system hierarchy and understand the purpose and function of the various directories that comprise the Linux operating system. Linux operating systems are just a collection of elaborately organized and purposed files. As you start to explore Linux, it's critical to start learning the particular purposes of the various files and folders located throughout the operating system. This collection and structure of folders and files is known as the Linux file system hierarchy. In the diagram shown here, we see an inverted tree structure of the various files and folders that are critical within the Linux file system hierarchy. When referring to the pathing of these particular files, we always start with a /. The / itself is its own directory we call the root directory. All folders are created within some pathing below the root directory. When we wish to reference certain folders, we'll use a pathing that starts with the / to do so. If we wish to reference this particular folder here, we would need to reference not only the /, but also the parent folder that it comes from. It would result in a path that starts with /usr, another /, and then the folder bin. If we were to look at a folder like the issue folder specified here, we would expect that it would be within the /root folder, the etc folder, and would exist somewhere off of this chain. We would ultimately refer to the folders with names like folders and subfolders, or directories and subdirectories. We could, for example, refer to this as the root directory with an etc subdirectory, oftentimes referred to as etc. It's in this way you'll be able to describe the proper location in the Linux file system hierarchy of the folders or files you're interacting with. We'll use this nomenclature throughout the remainder of the course. Next, we should understand the proper purposes of some of the directories and subdirectories located in the operating system. Expanding further on the diagram, let's look at each of these subfolders to understand the intended purpose for the files and subdirectories contained within. The /usr, or user directory, includes installed software, shared libraries, and the files that are typically used for read-only program data. When we talk about the /usr bin directory, that contains the files that specify user commands. User sbin has system administration commands. The /usr/local directory is intended for locally customized software for your specific user or implementation. Next is the /etc or etc directory. This directory is intended for system configuration files. Next is our /var directory. Variable specific data is contained within these files. Files that may change in their content dynamically, such as database configurations or web content, are typically located within the var directory. /run contains runtime data files. Typically, this would include process files that control the locking mechanisms for system resources for the applications that are currently running on the system. In prior versions of Red Hat Enterprise Linux and other Linux operating systems, this would contain data similar to what we would have found in the var run or var lock locations. Next is the /home directory. Home directories are where regular users store their personal data and files. This could also include configuration files that customize the behavior of software applications unique to that user. /root, while confusing, is not to be confused with the / directory we call root. The / directory is the root of the file hierarchy, whereas /root is the home directory for the super user administrative account root. This can become confusing, as now we've reused the term root in several locations. There's first off the root user, which is our super user administrative account. We then introduce the slash directory as the root directory of the file hierarchy. And now we have a third instance of slash root, which is the home folder for the administrative user. With time, you'll be able to keep all three of these clear. Next is the slash temp folder. As you may guess, this is where temporary files are written. This is a world writable space, meaning that all users have access to this location. However, some protections are in place to allow any user to only manage or delete the files they've created. Oftentimes, the slash temp directory will have automatic cleanup procedures to delete files that have not been interacted with for 10 days. This is an intended safety measure of the slash temp directory to keep the workspace usable and uncluttered by all users. However, it is key to understand that behavior so that you don't lose your work if you've kept it in this location. The slash boot directory are files required by the operating system in order to complete the boot up process. And lastly is the slash dev location. This contains special kinds of files we call device files. These device files directly correspond to the hardware that our system will access, such as hard drives or other devices installed physically within the machine. This can also include a set of virtual instances or devices that we've presented to the environment. Examples of that could be virtualized storage devices. In our next section, we'll learn to locate files by their name. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.